Before we get started on the striped version of the tutorial, I just want to explain this really quickly because I did include the graph in the pattern only because originally I was going to do this as the tutorial. Unfortunately, after I finished and I went to go buy more of the yarn, I realized that both are no longer available. But I still have the graph in the pattern, so I'm just going to explain to you what I used really quickly. This is what it looks like. I think if you can find some yarn that you like, it would be really cute as a trapper hat with like little mushrooms going everywhere. Completely up to you though. What I used is Loops and Threads Country Loom. I could not find it anywhere online. The color is Regal Earth. Now you may be able to find some on eBay. I'm not sure. For the green, I had gotten it from Ice Yarns. It's Puffy Popcorn. This I did buy, and then 2 days later it was gone. So I don't know if it's coming back or not. Anyway, if you can find an appropriate 6-weight yarn that looks like wood, you can possibly use the green furry yarn that we used for moss on the other hat. It is a bit thinner, so you'll need to watch your tension. Also, this yarn was thinner than the blanket yarn that I'm using in the original pattern, so you will also need to watch your tension. Maybe possibly use a 9mm hook. But that's all on that. We're going to go over to the stripe version now. In the pattern, I have it written as a solid color because I know I'm going to do a lot of solids. However, I knew that in the future I was going to want to do stripes because I am obsessed with stripes. So I did want to do that ahead of time just to see if I ran into any issues, which I did run into issues, and here's what I ran into. The way that the original plain one is written, if you're doing 2 stripes in a row, you end up with either 4 of black or 4 of orange in a row. And that was going to be an issue because I did not like that at all. So I needed to either add or eliminate 2 rows. I decided to add 2 rows to the ending in the back. Now, if your head is a lot smaller, you may want to just eliminate 2 rows in the front instead. The reason you cannot just kind of adjust it, like I did try to just do 2 rows of each, and then I tried to do 3 in the middle and 3 in the back. I also tried to do 3 on the side and 3 on the side here, was once you do that, if you throw off 2 rows at all, you end up with this part showing like this. Some of the rows will look like this. It has, like, it pops through, and I just could not handle that mentally. It looked sloppy to me. So decide what you want to do. However, this is the way I have the graph written. This is the way we're going to do it in the tutorial, is I've just added 2 rows. It is larger for sure. However, it doesn't feel that bad on my head. I would tighten up my tension a bit if you have a smaller head, possibly use a smaller hook, but that's really the issue. For the tutorial, I decided I wanted to go with rainbow yarn. With the orange and black stripes, you're able to carry up every 2 rows. To color change, unfortunately, with rainbow, you're not going to be able to, so there's going to be constant cutting. However, I think it'll look pretty cute. So what I'm using is the Bernat Blanket Crimson, Bernat Blanket Brights Parrot Orange. Some of these you can find on Amazon if you don't have them in store, probably some other places as well. Bernat Blanket Brights School Bus Yellow, Hirschner's Cheerful Fleece. This is actually a little bit thinner than regular blanket yarn. It is Lime, Bernat Blanket Brights Royal Blue, and Bernat Blanket Brights Pal Purple. Before we start, I'm using blanket yarn in the pattern because I have a lot of people who do not understand the concept of using 2 strands. So I'm doing all of these patterns in blanket yarn. However, if you would like to use 2 strands of 4-weight, you can absolutely do that. Just keep an eye on your tension, your gauge check, all that kind of stuff, and it should work just fine. Anyway, we're going to start with the red. Row 1, We are going to chain 36. If you do not know what a back bump is, your chain has V's on the top. If you flip it over, there's bumps all the way across the bottom. Those are your back bumps. So 2 HDC and second back bump from hook. Then HDC and next 34 back bumps. Complete your last HDC and then change color to orange. I do this by finishing my last HDC, pull through the color change, and then pull down. You can change color however you like though. Chain 1 and turn, and onto row 2. Now from row 2 on, you are going to be working in the third loop. On your regular stitches, you work in the V. Directly underneath, there is these loops. Those are your third loops. If you need a better visual, you can go onto YouTube and type in third loop of crochet, as well as on Google. But from the second row on, you will be working in the third loop. HDC 35. Two HDC in the last stitch. The last stitch is a little weird, it's just a loop, but do 2 HDCs in the last stitch. Chain 1, turn, row 3, HDC 37. Remember to work in that third loop. Change color to yellow and fasten off orange. Chain 1, turn, and onto row 4, HDC 35. HDC 2-tog. 2-tog is also a decrease. Chain 1, turn, row 5, HDC 2-tog, HDC 34. We're going to gauge check really quickly. The reason why gauge check is important is to see if your tension matches up with mine. That also helps with deciding the thickness of yarn you're using, all that good stuff. So on row 3, it's supposed to measure 15 inches. I am measuring at 14 and a half, so I'm off by half of an inch. My yarn has been thicker, thinner each time I've done this, so it's a little hard to keep track of my tension. the 5 rows across, it's supposed to measure at 3.5, which is perfect. So YOLO, I'm just gonna keep going and see what happens. Change color to green and fasten off the yellow. Chain 1, turn, row 6. HDC 18. Leave the remaining stitches unworked. Chain 1, turn, row 7. HDC 18. Change to blue. Fasten off green. Chain 1, turn, row 8. HDC 18. Chain 1, turn, row 9. HDC 18. Change color to purple. Fasten off blue. Chain 1, turn, row 10. HDC 18. Chain 1, turn, row 11. HDC 18. Change color to red and fasten off purple. Chain 1, turn, row 12. HDC 18. Chain 1, turn, row 13. HDC 18. Change to orange, fasten off red. Chain 1, turn, row 14. HDC 18. Chain 1, turn, row 15, you are going to HDC 18. Change color to yellow and fasten off orange. Chain 1, turn, row 16, HDC 18. Chain 1, turn, row 17, HDC 18. Change color to green, fasten off yellow. Row 18, HDC 18. chain 1, turn, row 19. You're going to HDC 18. Sorry about this. When I was filming, I'm not sure what happened. I may not have hit record for these two rows, but on row 20 and 21, they are no longer there. So I am filming it separately just off of this. I just am pointing this out because you're going to notice that it's a tiny piece. It's actually after row 19. I did do the gauge check, however, for this front section, and it did match up exactly. So I'm not really sure what happened, but the gauge check was right. Anyway, we're going to go on to row 20 and 21. Change color to blue, fasten off green, chain 1, turn. Row 20, HDC 18, you can put a stitch marker here. If you want to, this may help on the next row. Chain 18, and turn. Row 21. 2 HDC in second back bump from hook. HDC in next 16 back bumps. HDC in 18 third loops. That's where the mark stitch was. Change color to purple. Fasten off blue. Chain 1 and turn. Now in the pattern, for rows 22 through 25, it says to repeat rows 2 through 5. We are doing the other side of the ear flap. Row 22. We are going to HDC 35. To HDC in next stitch. Chain 1, turn. Row 23 or row 3. HDC 37. Change color to red and fasten off purple. Chain 1, turn. Row 24 or 4. HDC 35. HDC 2 tog. Chain 1, turn. Row 25 or row 5. HDC 2 tog. HDC 34. Change color to orange and fasten off red. Chain 1, turn. row 26, HDC 23. Leave remaining stitches unworked. Chain 1, turn. Row 27, HDC 23. Change color to yellow, fasten off orange. Chain 1, turn. Row 28, HDC 23. Chain 1, turn. Row 29, HDC 23. Change color to green, fasten off yellow. Chain 1, turn. Row 30, HDC 23. Chain 1, turn. Row 31, HDC 23. Change color to blue and fasten off green. Chain 1, turn. Row 32, HDC 23. Chain 1, turn. Row 33, HDC 23. Change color to purple, fasten off blue. Chain 1, turn. Row 34, HDC 23. If you were doing the hat according to the pattern, this is where you would stop. Now it does say optional, add 2 extra rows if you are doing stripes. Since we are doing stripes, we are doing 2 extra rows. So chain 1, turn, row 35, HDC 23. Change color to red and fasten off purple. Chain 1, turn, row 36, HDC 23. Leave work where it is. We're gonna sew up the ends together real quick, so leave your piece exactly how it is. Don't fasten anything off. And you're going to take row 1 and put it behind the row that you just made. I marked my 23 stitches in the front and then my 23 stitches in the back just to make sure that I don't over sew anywhere. I'm going to use a 4-weight yarn that is the same color as the red, or at least similar. By the way, if you do not have a needle threader, I highly recommend getting one. Saves a lot of time. So you are going to go into the 3rd loop of the front piece and then both loops of your beginning chain, that V. and that's how you're going to sew across all 23 stitches. You want to make sure to go into the third loop, which is back here, the third loop of the front and the 2 loops of the back. This will make you have that ridge going all the way across so you can't tell where you've sewn at all. When you're done sewing, it should look like this. So you shouldn't even be able to see where that sewing portion is at all. I'm leaving my sewing strand on for just in case later if there's any little gap, you can sew that closed. It may not happen though. Now for this portion, we're going to be crocheting around the entire base of the hat. When I did it in black and orange stripes, I changed color for every stripe. I just carried the yarn. However, there for the rainbow, it's just way too many color changes to do that. So I'm going to be doing black. If you were doing a solid color, you just keep whatever your solid color was and do that all the way around. Or if you want to do something else, that's fine. But we're going to do black for this. Your hook is still attached to that. I am going to be changing color to black, and I will fasten off the red. Around 37 or 35 if you did not add the extra 2 rows here. I'm going to explain something very quickly. I will say single crochet in the next row, 2 single crochet in the next row, single crochet in the next row, 2 single crochet in the next row. In the pattern, I now say stitches because people do not understand when I say row. I say that to specify because you are working in the ends of the rows as opposed to the regular stitches that you work in. Anyway, we did add 2 extra rows. So in the pattern, it will say single crochet 1, 2 single crochet in the next 4 times. However, since we added 2 extra rows, you will be doing it 5 times because we have 2 extra rows. Do not chain 1, single crochet 1, 2 single crochet in the next. And we'll be doing that 5 times total. So single crochet 1, two single crochet in next. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then single crochet in the next. Going up the ear flap, if you are adding fur later, you need to mark your first and last stitch. So you will mark the first, and we are doing 12. 1, 12. Now mark that stitch. Working across the bottom of the ear flap, you're going to do 2 single crochet in the next row, single crochet in the next, 2 single crochet in the next row, single crochet in the next, and 2 single crochet in the last row. Working down the ear flap, you're going to do your first single crochet, then mark it if you are adding the fur on the inside. We are going to do 17 going down, so we already did 1. Seventeenth, you will mark your 17th stitch. Now across the front, you're going to single crochet in the next row, 2 single crochet in the next, 7 times. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you're going to single crochet 1 in the last row. Now you're going to count your stitches, so you need to mark your 4th and 19th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be for the front flap later. 4, 5, and 19. Working up the ear flap, we're going to single crochet 17, marking your first and last stitch if you are adding the fur. So 1, 17. Place marker in your last stitch. And then we're going to work out the bottom of the other ear flap. So 2 single crochet in the first row, single crochet in the next, 2 times total. Then 2 single crochet in the last row. Whoop. We're going to do 12 single crochet down, marking your first and last stitch if you are adding fur. So that's my first. This is where I had marked where we did the sewing, so I'm going to take that one out, that don't put a stitch in there. And we're going to mark the 12th stitch. Then you are going to join in your first stitch made of the black. And you will fasten off. See how there's that little hole there? Just take your strand, if you still have it on there, and sew that up. I'm going to sew in my ends really quickly because they are all over the place. If only it were that easy. We're going to sew across and then also make the ears. You want to line up the front ear flaps to where you have 2 rows showing just right here. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Now, since I decided to make things harder on myself and I did rainbow color, I'm just going to have to use a solid strand, which black is what I had nearby. Normally, I just sew right across here without turning it inside out. However, I really want to make sure that strand doesn't show through. So I'm going to flip it inside out for sewing. And it doesn't matter which side you start on, but you're going to start on one end and sew across to the other. You just want to grab just 2 loops somewhere on each side. Just grab a loop and then grab a loop and go through. Hopefully this is looking good on the other side. I probably should have checked. Too late now. It actually doesn't even look that bad on this side, but you can still see it. So if you didn't turn yours inside out, stay where you are. If you did, put it back to where it should be. That didn't help at all. You can still definitely see the black. Shit. Actually, once it's sewn, that's not going to be noticeable at all. Okay, we're fine. We're going to pin the ears. Make sure your yarn is out here if it's not already. I'm going to be using these long 12-inch needles just because for doing the video, it's a lot easier for me to do that. It doesn't matter which side you start on, so you want to count 6 rows across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 10 stitches down. And you're just going to take your needle in and out your 6th row. You don't have to do this. You could also just put a stitch marker on either end so you know which way to go, but it's easier for me when I'm sewing to just touch this needle when I sew in and out. And then we're going to repeat the process on the other side. Now you can try it on if you want to. It's not going to show you exactly how it is, but it'll give you more or less an idea. It will sit differently once it is sewn, though. You're going to take your strand of yarn, your sewing yarn, and bring it all the way down to the 10th stitch. Black was really a bad life choice. When you get to your 10th stitch, you want to wrap the yarn around your needle twice and then pull through to secure it, because we are going to pull later on and you don't want this to pull downwards at all. And then you are going to sew in and out all the way to row 6. Try to get them, I wouldn't say as close as possible, but you don't want to sew in and out with too big of a gap in between, because once you pull it later, you don't want these huge bubbles. You want it more of a good gather. If you're going to add stuffing, these last couple stitches, I don't pull all the way through. I kind of leave a loop so I can insert the stuffing in between the holes there. You can pull out your needle, add some stuffing. Just kind of move those stitches a little bit in there. You don't need to put a massive amount, I put enough just to give it kind of a little bubble going. I think that's good. And then you're going to take your strand and gently pull. Once you get it the shape that you want, you're going to wrap the yarn around the needle twice again to secure it and make sure your ruching doesn't come out. Now, I'm going to continue using this same strand. However, if you're concerned that maybe you're going to want to change how big the ear is, and the way you would do that is like add extra, do a couple rows this way, go more stitches down. I don't really recommend changing that too much because you do need a gap here for it to sit on your head nicely. You can cut a separate strand and do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to carry mine across and start from this side again though. And when you're doing this, don't yank on the yarn at all because you don't want to scrunch it. Just kind of gently carry it over to the other end. And you're going to do the same thing on this side. Wrap it around twice to make sure that when you pull, it doesn't scrunch the middle at all. And then sew in and out. When you get close to the end, leave your yarn a little loose to add stuffing. Pull that needle out. I think that's pretty good. And then you're going to pull again. Looks pretty similar. You want to get it the same on both sides. Then you want to wrap the yarn around the needle twice to secure, and then you can fasten off. And sew in your end. We're going to do the optional fur lining for the hat. This does make it very thick. As you can see, that's a lot of thickness. However, if you're in a very cold area, people are going to appreciate it. It also looks cute. You don't have to do this. Before we start, I'm going to talk about this yarn really quickly. It absolutely sucks. It doesn't matter if you've been crocheting 10 days, 10 years, or 10 decades. You're basically crocheting blind. It's not easy for anyone. If you're one of those people like, I love working with it, it's not hard at all, be quiet, nobody cares. All right, so I'm going to show you what I do to make it slightly easier. I just mark my first and last stitch because at least I know where it's starting and ending. You are going to chain 18. So 1, and then I'm going to stick a stitch marker in the first chain. 17. This is where we're going to start our HDC, so we're going to mark that also. And then 18. Do 2 HDC in second back bump from hook. That is your 17th one that is marked. So do 2 HDC in that one. And the first HDC that you do of that, put a stitch marker in that. 1 and 2. Then you are going to HDC in next 16 back bumps. Place a stitch marker there for when you turn. Chain 1, turn, row 2. From row 2 to row 5, you are going to work in the third loop if you can find it. If you can't, it's probably okay. It just may make it a little bit wider. Do what you can do. Fingers crossed for you. Row 2, HDC 2 tog. And then I'm going to remove that stitch marker from the previous row and put it up into my first stitch. Make sure you actually get it in the stitch and not just the fur. HDC 15. To HDC in next stitch. So that should be your last one that is marked. Take that marker out and put it up to that stitch. Chain 1, turn, row 3. HDC 16. Remove that marker and put it in your first stitch. HDC 2 tog. And place your stitch marker there again. Chain 1, turn, row 4. HDC 2 tog. HDC 13. HDC 2-tog. Chain 1, turn, row 5. HDC 2-tog. HDC 11. HDC 2-tog. Chain 1, turn, row 6. You will be working in both loops. You're not working in the third loop. You're going to mark your first and last stitch going up, so there should be 12 stitches. You're going to work across this side, and then on this side you're going to mark your first and last stitch as well. There will be 17. So you should have 4 stitch markers total on here. Single crochet 2-tog. Place your marker. Single crochet 11. Place your marker. Now you're going to single crochet across the bottom of here. Best of luck, just place your stitches where you can find them. You're going to do 2 single crochet in first row, single crochet in the next 2 times. Then 2 single crochet in your last row. And 17 single crochet across. Make sure to mark your first and last. And 17. Fasten off. That was horrible and sucked. Now make a second. We're going to do the front flap, so we'll be working with this vial yarn again. I do recommend marking your first and last stitch of each row in case you forget what row you're on. It's going to be very hard to find out later. So these are your marked stitches. You're going to start in your 4th marked stitch that you had done. Chain 1 and single crochet in same, and next 16 stitches you should end in your other marked stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Rows 2 through 6, you are going to single crochet 16, chain 1 and turn. So mark your first and last of each row if you find that helpful. This is the end of row 6. We're going to chain 1 turn and work around the entire hat. If you made the inner ear flap pieces, keep those handy. Chain 1 turn. You should have 6 rows total of those 16 single crochet, by the way, in case you didn't. So you're going to single crochet back across the front flap. Do 6 single crochet going down. When you get to your marked stitches, you have 17 in the front and 12 in the back. So you want to match your markers up where you have 17 and 12. And you're going to go into the hat and then into your flap portion. And do that across all the stitches here. Single crochet across the back. When you get to your ear flap, you're going to line up the marked stitches again So the 12 should be in the back and the 17 should be in the front. And you're going to connect them both going through the outer ear flap first and then the furry bit. Now that that's connected on both, you're going to work back across the couple stitches that are left here and then up to your beginning single crochet. Join in first single crochet made of this round or whatever stitch you can find there, and fasten off. That's how you want it to look. Pretty adorable, I think. I wasn't sure what color I wanted to do the faux pockets because there's already, you know, it's a whole rainbow going on here. And then I had this idea, so I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to include it in the tutorial because I am completely obsessed with this. So instead of doing a pocket on this one, I did like a corset style strand. I think this would be adorable with, you know, little hearts at the end. If you're doing any sort of a mushroom woodsy theme, put little mushrooms on the bottom, really whatever you want. But I'll tell you how I did that in case you want to try. So I started off, I just cut a long strand of yarn and then I corseted it up to see how long I would need to make the chain when I crocheted it. Now for me, I started up here and then every third stitch I would corset it up like so. Once I finished, I tied the bottom to see like how big the bow would be and then how long I wanted the strand to be as well hanging out the bottom, and then I cut it to that size, pulled it all out. For me, I used an 8mm hook and a strand of blanket yarn. You could also do ribbon or anything else would be really cute. But I chained 200. That was the length of my strand and it fit perfectly how it did with just this. So chain 200. Fasten off, pull your yarn through and get it even on both ends if that's how you want it. You want to make sure, most people probably know this, but when you do it, you want to make sure to overlap the same direction either every time. So one goes over and one goes over the exact same way. So it looks nice and tidy if you like things nice and tidy. And then I'm going into every third. So skip two and go in the third. I insert my hook on the inside and then pull this on the from the outside and pull through. And then same on the other side. Skip two. And pull through. Overlap in the same direction. Skip two. And pull through. You're just going to do that all the way down. And there you have it. Isn't that cute? And then just tie a little bow or whatever you want. Hang some charms off of it. I don't know. I'm obsessed. I think it's adorable. Okay. I will show you how to make the faux pockets next, but I don't know. I think I'm going to be going with that. The faux pocket, I'm just going to use green for shits and giggles. We're going to chain 4. Starting in the second back bump from hook, single crochet 2. Four single crochet in next back bump. in my patterns and some other people's, when the number comes before the stitch, that is an increase. It's telling you how many stitches to do in that next stitch. Not everybody's patterns are that way, but mine are. Single crochet in next 2 stitches. So you're almost working around the chain, but not entirely because we are not joining. Chain 1 and turn, row 2, single crochet 2, 2 single crochet in next 4 stitches. So you're going to do 4 increases. 1, 2, 4. Single crochet 2. Chain 1 and turn, row 3, single crochet 4, 2 single crochet in next 4 stitches. Single crochet 4. Change color to fur. Fasten off the green. If you want to use it for sewing, keep it long enough for sewing, or if you want to use a 4-weight yarn, just make it long enough to sew in. Chain 1, turn, and you are going to single crochet 16. You would then fasten off the fur. I'm not going to because I'm not going to be using this. When that's done, this is the side that we were just working on. Now, if you go to the other side, the fur pops out a lot more. When the wrong side of your stitches are facing with fur, you get a lot more fur going. And then you would just take it and sew it right in line with the front of the face area on your ear flap. And that's all you would do. I wouldn't really do both of these things because I think that's too much, but that's completely up to you. Anyway, that's how you do the faux pocket on there. And it's done. All you have left to do is sew 2 little stitches, one here and one here, to keep this from flapping over. I think it'd be really cute to add little buttons there, whatever you want. Also, you do not have to do the fur parts in fur. You can just do plain yarn. I think it'd be really cute if you wanted to, like, I wouldn't do it on top of fur, but if you wanted to make a little patch, like on my regular YouTube, I do have a little skull thing, like put a skull there, whatever you want. And notice that I didn't say to sew this. It's because you can if you want to, but I like the fact that it's a little pocket and you can hide stuff in there. Your millions of dollars, I don't know, your most precious items, chapstick. Anyway, so that's how it looks. If you want to make it smaller, just use a thinner yarn, something like Parfait Chunky, if you're making it for a kid, anything like that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day.